Welcome to the InstantCast presented by the PewterCast. I am Brent Allen, your host, joined as always by my co-host Ren Dax. Ren, we've got a little bit of a different show for the folks this week for the InstantCast show.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Normally, you guys know, if you've been following the show for any amount of time, this is a show where we do it as a live call-in show. You're listening to Mixler.com/ThePewterCast, and you guys can call in. The number is 864-729-BUCKS, and that's not what we're doing tonight. We are actually live at Miguel's in Tampa, and we have our special guest with us, Mr. Derek Fournier from What the Buck. Derek, how is it going, my friend?
Going very well. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. This, the reason we're doing things this way is because we have yet to figure out exactly the logistics of how we do a live call-in show when the main studio that's got all the gear for that is 3.5 hours away, coming up right after a home game where I'm here in Tampa. So we're still trying to figure that out. Not exactly sure what this is going to look like for the entire season, but for today we're going to do the InstantCast show. Recorded. And so we've got Derek, who's going to be joining us here talking about the game. And, we just saw the game not too long ago. We got to have a fun dinner here at Miguel's. Shout out to them for letting us use one of their private rooms here for the show.
It's very swanky.
It's pretty swanky. It's a lot of glass, a little bit of an echo. But if you guys hear stuff going on around us, that's just what it is. We're just in a live restaurant and good food. But guys, I'll throw it out to you first. We're just kind of talking about the game. What are some of your overall thoughts coming out of this Bucks victory? What was it, 29-7? Should have been 29-0 if you ask me. But thoughts on the game. Ren, go first.
Defense. The Bucks defense looked good. We weren't really sure what we were going to see this year. We didn't know if they're going to get a slow start they did last year, or they're going to pick up right where they left off near the end of the year. But they made Glennon look exactly like Glennon. He had to check everything down. Everything was short. They pretty much Grimes and Hargraves just locked up the receivers and made Howard and Cohen beat them, and they couldn't. It was a beautiful day. I thought the offense, looked good. I think Cutter in the second half especially just sort of shut everything down. Went extremely vanilla for the second half, but it's because he didn't have to. We were talking here, over dinner a little bit, and Derek said, they went 5 wide, and some of the play calling was the way he was getting receivers matched up on safeties. That was a really beautiful thing to see, but once after halftime, you didn't have to show that anymore. All they had to do was basically, it seemed like they'd run the ball first, second down, and then, we need a first down. Let's do a 7-yard out to the guy in the slot, first down, run the ball first, second down. So, just like Buck fans are hoping for, a very easy victory. The Bucks roster is much better than the Bears, and it really showed this afternoon.
Yeah, I think some of that is just what you're saying about the difference between the first half and the second half. I mean, you even compare the score totals between the first half and the second half. 26 points for the Bucks in the first half, only 3 in the second half. I don't want to say that very clearly things were that much different. It just that goes to show, how much harder they were. I don't want to say trying to trick them. That's not really the right word, but.
No, I think when you look at a game like this, and I want to caution folks, and this may be unpopular, but believe it or not, every one of the 32 teams in this league is really good at the game of football. So while we can look at a team like the Bears and make fun, or we can look at teams like the Browns and make fun, they're all professionals and they're all really, really good at the game. Yes, teams like the Patriots may run into the stadium and stomp a mud hole in all their backsides, but that team gave Atlanta all they could handle last week. Now, do I think our roster is better? Yes, I do. Do I think Glennon was exactly what Glennon usually is, Ren? I think you're absolutely right. We talked about it all week. The defense disrupted his base, made him check down, created turnovers, which was terrific. And even when they didn't get home on their rush to get to a sack, they caused enough pressure that it led to turnovers. Turnovers lead to score escalation, which is why the first half score was higher. Not only did you have a pick six, but you had multiple turnovers with short field. Our offense couldn't get out of its own way, despite the fact that at times it looked like it was absolutely unstoppable. There were at least probably 18 points left on the field that they should have collected, just laying all over the place. Mm-hmm. So second half, though, I am absolutely in line with going into turtle mode. Like you said, I'm not trying to show any more plays. The fact that Jameis Winston trotted back out there on that the last possession he was in for, that they had him throw twice, just absolutely gave me an aneurysm. It should have been John McKay offense. Student body left, student body right, ISO, punt if you have to. But don't make him take a sack or get hit or possibly throw a pick. And it's not even the pick I'm afraid of. I don't want him injured. The game was over. Let the Fitzpatrick generation start, move on, start planning for the Minnesota Vikings. But we said going into the game, this was an opportunity against a decent team, certainly a team on paper that looked decent given what they did against the Falcons, to make a statement. And they showed enough of the chess. They showed that if Jameis is given time with just the line and one back, he can pretty much throw it all over the field. His accuracy will improve as he gets used to Deshaun Jackson. This is an offense that should be tremendous, but the thing I take away, and Ren did it, defense, discipline. They held the Bears' rushing attack that looked great last week with two really, really good runners to 20 yards. 20 yards on the ground. That's nuts, and that's only possible by staying in your lane, making your run fits accurate, tackling when you have the opportunity. Open field tackling today was ridiculous, guys. There were a couple of missed, but nothing much. And there were some that were just stupid good. That's what I'm excited about, because those kind of fundamentals, they just go. If that's how you do, if you wipe your butt with your left hand, guess what? You're always wiping it with your left hand. If you're used to making those open field tackles, if you're used to being where you're supposed to be, staying at home, like Will Golston did today, like we saw Clint McDonald do today, man, that's good all year long.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before we started the show, but to talk about the defense, I said on the Chicago Bears review, Ren, that you and I got to guest on earlier this week. I said, I felt like the defense was in a spot through the preseason where they were pretty much picking up from where they left off last year. And to me, now I've got to go back and watch the film. I haven't looked at the numbers or anything like that. But to me, I think I was wrong. I don't think they are necessarily picking up where they left off last year. I think they took a big leap forward. That's just what I saw. Ren, I know that you have a different feeling on that, and so I'll let you speak to that. But to me, and my response, my reaction just coming out of the game is the defense really looks like they've stepped up to a different level than even what we saw last year through that especially that 5-game winning streak last year.
I would like to agree with you. I really would as a Bucs fan. I think that, basically Chicago came into the game with one hand tied behind their back. So I'm not going to jump up and up and down and say, this is the best defensive performance I've ever seen, or they've taken this huge step forward. I think they did exactly what they were supposed to do. Now, the turnovers were great. A bunch of short fields for the Buccaneers. Yes, I think the defense played well, but I expected the defense to play well. The pick six was, a cherry on the top. But as far as an overall performance, of course, I'm pleased, but I'm not. I'm still in the camp of wait and see. I would really like to see a full complement NFL roster, come in to Ray J and see what they can do, against one of the upper echelons teams. Not banging on Chicago, but
who are they missing that has you all a Twitter?
No, I'm not.
Kyle Long.
Oh, here we go.
No, I understand your point.
Well, their first two receivers were out.
Okay, so that's fair. The receivers were out, right? Yeah. And we saw the receivers drop 5 balls.
A lot of balls.
5 balls in the last 6 drives. I mean, it was pretty bad. So, admittedly, the receivers certainly hurt. And I was trying to get to where you were going because, I get it. Long being out certainly doesn't help, but their receivers didn't look like world beaters against Atlanta either. But you're right; they didn't have a full complement. Do you think it's going to be any different in Minnesota this week?
Depends on who's playing quarterback.
Right. Because I'm pretty sure they're just going to snap it to a running back at this point.
What, Chicago or Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Well, if Bradford comes, if he gets healthy, I don't even know what his injury is, to be honest. I just found out on the way to the stadium that he was hurt and wasn't playing. It's going to be a Dalvin Cook show. You're probably right next week. As you were talking about John McKay, student body right, student body left. We could be seeing it in Minnesota, and but that was something I was worried about. Was that straight up the middle run defense that was susceptible last year?
Right.
I think getting bigger in the middle with Baker and McCoy putting on the extra weight, McDonald putting on the extra weight. And even Kendall Beckwith. I thought he had a great game at linebacker in coverage and in run stopping. So, and like Derek alluded to earlier, Will Golston, I thought he had a very good game. The defensive line, that's what I was really sort of wait and see against the run. But like Derek said earlier, 20 yards, they shut him down and did dominate, especially when the Bears tried to run the ball.
So let's talk about a couple of the guys on defense, new guys to the team who showed out today, had really good games. You already mentioned one, Kendall Beckwith, definitely is a guy that I made notes about. This was a guy who seemed to be all over the field, seemed like he was in on just about every play. I saw his name up on the big giant jumbotron there in the stadium more than once throughout the course of the game. And then also our brand new safety, TJ Ward, coming up with a couple of big plays certainly as well. Thoughts on those guys?
Well, Beckwith did what he did at training camp. Anyone who followed Ren and myself during training camp, Beckwith splashes a lot. Now, he's going to make mistakes, but he's going to make them at a high rate of speed. And fortunately, he didn't make a lot of mistakes today. So when Quan went out and he got more burn, he did what we saw him do. There was one drive towards the end where I think he actually stopped every single play on the drive. Mike kept trying to check down, and he just kept eating up the play. I think it was a tackle, 2 pass breakups, and then another tackle. It was when they were going for it on fourth because it was a moot point. TJ Ward, I didn't expect to even play today, and he came out, had a splash play the first time out, got some great time in there with Conti, clearly understands the game, plays at a high rate of speed, he's got a great motor. And we talked about that leadership that he brings to the defensive secondary. He has been there before. He's been to the mountaintop. He's seen these things before. It's going to be good to see what he does. I thought you had some other guys that splashed a little bit as well today. And Noah Spence is going to be quiet on the stat line, but if you go back and watch the tape, I bet you're going to be surprised at how much he annoyed Mike Glennon for however many plays he got in. And it wasn't always Noah out there, but our defensive ends did a good job of getting to the point. Mike Glennon does not like being pressured at his feet at all. And so if they collapse the pocket to him, he's going to climb the pocket, go right back into tackles. And the defense did that consistently all game long. And I actually saw Noah Spence make an inside move, which I didn't think he had in the bag. So I think all those guys really did pop. I'd love to see what Devontae Bond looks like, because you look at the depth that we're starting to develop here, it's very exciting.
Yeah, and speaking of that, when Quan Alexander did go out with that hamstring, it took a while for me to even notice. I've been big on this show with Darius Glanton, and once and again, another guy's not going to show up huge in the stat line, but with pass protection and run stoppage, like there was really not a drop off that you could even tell. Like I said, I don't know when Quan went out, but I do remember, looking up and going, where's Quan? Like, where's Quan? And even after that, once again, going back to that 20 yards gain stat for the Bears, rushing. I thought they stepped up. Like Derek said, we're very deep there. And, if we can sustain a year-long injury, not that I'm hoping for it or even saying that Quan is, that's the position that can, I guess, take the blow.
Can absorb it.
Yeah, thank you.
And one of those, I remember back in the preseason or in the offseason, really, I had the feeling, and my biggest concern as far as depth was on this team was at the linebacker position, and I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like we are so deep at the linebacker position that, God forbid, Quan is out for any significant amount of time, we're going to be okay. Like, we've got guys that are doing well, we got guys that are in there, we've got guys that can step in and take over, like we saw tonight or today. So I thought that was pretty fantastic. Let's talk about TJ Ward just for one more moment. One of the questions that I know was being asked and tossed around was, when TJ Ward comes in, between Conti and Tandy, who are our starting safeties, who is going to go out? It looked to me today like it was Ward in with Conti, and Tandy was the odd man out. Was that what you guys saw as well?
Yes. And that should not surprise anyone who understands how football is played or understands the stack rank of the safeties on this team, despite their irrational dislike for Chris Conti. And I'm sorry if your audience is in that crowd, but if they are, they don't understand the game of football, and they should start watching more film. Chris Conti is currently the best safety on the team. You can not like him all you want. That doesn't make him a bad safety. He got a penalty today. Deserved the penalty, but he's out there hitting people, making tackles, doing things he does. Keith Tandy's playing good football. He's getting better at the game. He's learning the game, but TJ Ward is going to displace Tandy, not Conti.
Yeah, let me ask you this about Conti specifically. Seemed to have a good end of the half of last year. Was re-signed this year over McDougald. And coming in, and as you just said, currently the best safety on our team. Do you think we might be on the downhill slope of seeing people hate Conti so much, or is he still having to climb out of that stupid? Because I'm with you on that. Like, Conti he's certainly grown on me as a fan, And I've come around to seeing how stupid that is that people kind of feel that way.
Listen, there is a distinct chance Chris Conti has slept with every listener's wife or sister or daughter, because the kind of irrational hatred only comes from that kind of weirdness, right? I get it. Early in the year, the communication in the defensive secondary was terrible, and what that does is it makes every safety that steps on the field look like a clown shoe, and he was often the one who looked like a clown shoe. If you talk with the coaching staff from bottom to top, they say he's the best athlete on the team. He was far and away the best safety on the team. And when the communication improved and health improved, what happened? Everything started to improve. And Chris Conti started making plays, which is what's supposed to happen. If he's not making up for people who busted the coverage underneath, he can do the things he's supposed to do. Now, do I think that Chris Conti is a Hall of Fame safety? No. Do I think he's the best one we got on the shelf right now? Yeah. Do I think TJ Ward could pass him in net talent at safety? Potentially, from what I saw today. But what did I see today? 20 plays from TJ Ward? Maybe? I need to see more than that. I liked what I saw. But I don't understand why people are out there trying to put this guy up on a pike and get him off the field. You want the best two safeties on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And if I could say this to Bucs fans out there, stop with realize that the hate is irrational. And even if there were things that he did that we didn't like before in the past, he has come out of that. Like, you can just stop the hate. Like, don't keep caring for, we talk about these narratives or these storylines that people like to bring through. This is one that I would personally like to see die.
Sure. I mean, I just hate Chris Conti because his Twitter handle is redundant. Like, white unicorn. Like, what is that?
Did he change it?
Did he change it?
I'll check.
Oh, okay, you'll check. Breaking news. Chris Conti's Twitter handle has changed. No, I don't hate Chris Conti either. I mean, he was an easy punching bag when we were giving up all those yards in the Oakland game and the Falcons game. I agree with Derek. Like, it's still too early for TJ Ward as far as a Buccaneer. Everything points up. He's trending upward, so I don't think there's a worry there. What I also liked from the defense today was how they bottled up Cohen. He got like 45 yards on 3 punts last week, like 60 yards receiving, or the other way around, 60 yards rushing, 40 yards receiving, 158 total yards. And a lot of guys in my fantasy league, pretty much everyone inserted in the starting lineup, and I think he got less than 5 points. Yeah. So yeah, they bottled him up. And it was good to see.
Yeah, I had a couple people offering to trade him to me for another RB1 type player, to which I said no.
This is very typical, and I hate saying very typical because it's almost redundant as well. But the overreaction from 1 week to week, right? You get a star that shows up. Listen, Tariq Cohen is a fast, agile, sharp-cutting, good hands, smart, patient runner. He's unique in that regard, in so much as he's got one right next to him, and Howard, who's not quite as fast or quite as agile, but also very patient. That's why I was so excited about the defense. We've talked about it already. They wait for their blocks. They set up their blocks. Our guys didn't leave the spots. They couldn't just wait because the person was still there when they waited and they got tackled. But you brought up a great point that I had not thought about. I was scared to death of our coverage teams. It's been recently even pretty decent, right? But it wasn't good in preseason. It was consistently not good. Big splash play. Get down there, and what was it, Cohen, I think, who tried to pick up the ball. Okay, he's lucky he did well last week, or he would have left his shoulder pad Singletary style on the sideline after that dumb move. But Lynch was down there. I don't know who triggered the fumble. It might have been Glanton that triggered the fumble. Lynch recovered it. And that's a huge splash play because that drive had stalled. The energy was low. Right. But you saw that coverage all day long, right? And the one time that someone did get it, I don't think it was Cohen, it was on a hold. By the way, a lot of penalties today for the Bears. Sloppy play. Our team seemed to keep their head about them. Not a lot of dumb penalties. We didn't even talk about that yet. Right. But when you think about disciplined play.
Did we even have 5 penalties?
I don't think so. We had the unsportsmanlike conduct. We had a hold, a false start, maybe 5. I'm just going to round up and say 5. But in general,
a far cry from the day when we had 15.
Oh, good Lord.
Or 17.
And when you look at the Bears, I mean, what do we have? 4 first downs by penalty for defensive holding?
Yeah.
But this goes back to the weapons. Listen, if Jameis Winston can sit back there with 5 to 6 seconds to throw the ball, you better hold. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Hold. Because the best case is a 5-yard and a first down. Because otherwise, you're just going to be looking at Mike Evans' ass as he runs in the end zone.
Right.
And so it was tremendous.
So one more guy I want to talk about on the defense, just for me, as far as notes that I had, and this is more of a question of, do you think this may become a storyline this year? And I'm talking about the reemergence of Levante David. Because last year, coming into Mike Smith's defense, he kind of seemed to disappear into the woodwork. Though, Ren, you and I have talked about how even though he didn't show up a whole lot, he was still very present on the team last year.
Yeah, he had a better year than people would think.
Right. But today, he really stood out to me. He had an interception.
No, he didn't.
Or something. I don't know. I don't know. See, this is the InstantCast. I'm not sure. We got to go back and look at the numbers. But whatever it is, Levante really just stood out to me in his play, in how he was hitting, and in his coverage and where he was. Did he jump out to you guys as well? Is this going to be something you think we're talking about over the course of this season?
I'm actually going to give this one to Derek, because Derek has been on the Levante David I don't want to say bandwagon, because he's always been a very good player. But after last year, we perceived that he didn't really have a Levante David type year. Derek was one of the ones first during preseason and OTAs that watch out for Levante David, watch out for Levante David. Even said it on your podcast just like 2 nights ago. And you're absolutely right. He showed up. So
yeah, I think by comparison, when you get another great talent, and listen, Quan Alexander's a unique talent too. We're very fortunate as Bucs fans to have 2 linebackers. And that's not talking about Ken Beckwith. He doesn't have enough of a resume yet. But you've got enough resume for Levante David to consider him one of the better linebackers in the league. You've got enough talent and some tape on Quan to think he's going to be the same thing. If you put Levante David in a normal linebacking core without those guys, he shines every single game. Every piece of film you watch on defense, you're talking about Levante David. Well, now you put him next to Quan Alexander, and you're saying, oh, well, I mean, Levante was probably okay, but did you see that play by Quan Alexander? They lose sight of the fact that he's doing all of the little things right. We talked about this last year. The biggest thing Levante had to do to take his game to the next level that great linebackers in the Bucs have done before is understand coverage in this scheme. His depth, all of our linebackers' depth had to get better to help coverage. And the tipped interception that he led to Vernon Hargraves was the first indicator you saw. That showed a knowledge and spatial awareness on the field of where he needed to be. He is going to kill people this season, right? And it may not be the incredible cut onto a sweep like Quan had today with the tackle, right? Mm-hmm. But we talk about it all the time, who's going to be the guy who on third down you need the play? And a lot of people want it to be G-Mac or whatever. I don't care who it is as long as he's wearing a Bucs uniform. Mm-hmm. I would be willing to bet 60 to 70% of the time it's going to be Levante David, and it may not be because he makes the tackle. It may be because he jumps a route, forces the quarterback to wait another second, and that's why G-Mac or Will Golston gets to the play. This guy is playing at another level of football, and you should definitely watch him on all 22.
That should be fun to watch. Just another thing about Levante David, and this is more on the personal level, has nothing much to do with football, but when Levante went down with a cramp, looked like in his leg, personally, I love to see that the only player that was kind of around him, almost as if he was the only one allowed to be around him, was G-Mac. Just to remember and remind us, there's a real tight bond, it seems like, between those two guys. And we know as Bucs fans that, Warren Sapp even advised Gerald that, hey, listen, it's going to be the defensive tackle and the linebacker. And that kind of old brotherhood really, I thought, showed through today. And I just like seeing that on my team.
Yeah, it was definitely good to see. I think we should start talking about a little bit of offense.
That's exactly where I was going to go next. If you guys had any final thoughts on defense, and we'll jump over to offense.
Defense was good.
I liked it.
There you have it.
The best I've ever seen. No.
A lot.
That's it.
We got Derek Fournier from What the Buck podcast, channeling a little bit of Jim Carrey, who, by the way, got a brand new show this week. We're not talking about him, though. Okay, offense. Ren, we'll start with you again. Thoughts on offense from today?
We all thought, in you read anyone's story, or the beat writers, anyone and had a podcast, like they all thought this was going to be like a Cameron Brate show, and they tried to do it early. The tight ends down the seams. I think in the first drive they threw one to Howard and one to Brate. They were both incomplete, but thank God Chicago, defensive held and kept the drive going. But by the time they kept getting those short fields, by the time it rolled around to sort of start throwing those patterns again, the game was already over. So I liked what I saw from the offense. I thought early Quiz wasn't, for me personally, and I'm not going to tell a pro athlete that they weren't trying hard. I just didn't think he was running as hard as I expected him to early. Mm-hmm.
Especially in that first quarter.
In that first quarter, yeah. I thought he cleaned it up. I thought he ran well. I thought Barber was actually going to get in the game a little more, but he did get a whole series to spell. And then once the game got out of reach, he stayed in there. I thought Jameis, had a Jameis game. It's especially what you would expect week one. You've seen Jameis get super high, emotional wise, I'm trying to say. But I thought he took what the defense gave him. Yeah. And that was good to see. You didn't really see any dumb plays. You didn't see him, try to throw it, from on his way down before, trying to throw a 40-yard pass across the middle, across the field as he's getting sacked. None of that stuff. Once again, I think, Dirk Cutter sort of shut down the play calling, turtle mode. Derek called it in the second half. And so I'm pleased for what I saw, but I don't think we've even scratched the surface about what this offense can do and the scheming it can do against other teams.
A lot of that's going to come with familiarity. And when you put this many weapons out there, Jameis has to get comfortable to understand that they're on the same page. That's something he has with Mike right now. He doesn't have it with Deshaun yet, but it'll come. He's got it probably with Adam. But Adam Humphries didn't even get many looks today. He got a couple of targets. When he was given a target, he made things happen. You said, like you mentioned earlier, the tight end should have been a focus. Chicago did a good job game planning for that. Made a scary breakup early with a deflected pass. And I think that scared Jameis a little bit about it because that was an athletic play by that linebacker to get up that high. He loves to drop the ball over the linebacker in front of the safety. And whoever the hell that linebacker was.
You're talking about that very first throw.
Yeah. Jameis has made that throw 40 times successfully. Mm-hmm. That linebacker climbed a ladder. Yeah. And he was like, nope, I'm good with that. I'm going to go ahead and take these easy throws because don't make any mistakes here. There were some dimes that Jameis dropped today. But a lot of those throws, you knew, if you understand the game, you knew before the snap who he was throwing it to, vaguely the depth, and it wasn't a hard throw because he had such mismatches, and that's terrific. Offensively, I agree. I thought that the
Derek, before you go on, just to point out kind of what you were talking about with you and Ren both, talking about like with the tight ends, this goes to what we were saying really throughout the offseason is great. So you're going to cover the tight ends, but we've still got Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson. And then you've got, the guys in our running game, which can still do some stuff. So it's kind of a pick your poison. Because how are you going to cover everything that we have when we talk about all of the different weapons that are around Jameis right now?
The thing that Ren alluded to, or I didn't allude to, he said directly, the turtle up thing that I alluded to, because I did allude to it, is Coach Cutter did try and guru for one more series because that's what good coaches do. Every once in a while they try and show how damn smart they are. He tried to get cute, but after that he was like, okay, we've got this win. There's no comeback happening. We don't need to put up any more tape, show any more route combinations. We don't need to run any crazy play action, any backside moves. What we showed the end around 4 times, never ran it. But people saw it. They're afraid of it. They better stay home. If they had run it really, Deshaun Jackson would have run, depending on which direction the stadium. I made this comment on the podcast last night. If he was running south, he would have run to Mons. They would not have touched him. He could have done it with shower shoes on. So this is a team that is rife with weapons. As Jameis gets more comfortable, and that offensive line gelled a little bit today. Sweezy played nasty. I heard people saying that Smith played poorly, but I don't know if that's Chris Conti-esque hate of Donovan Smith. I have to go look at it to see.
I personally think it is just off the top.
It could be. He didn't seem like he played poorly to me because I saw too many plays where, and we talked about this earlier at dinner, 5 linemen, a back to chip, and Jameis could have knitted a damn sweater. Okay, that's not normal for this team. If they can do that this year and the defense can play good, solid defense, this team can do some special things because he has just started figuring out how to get the ball around to some of these guys. O.J. Howard showed up in the end of the game. Mm-hmm. Right? This is a unique talent. Cam Brate is a unique talent. We didn't get to use him. Right. It's like the guy you have in your neighborhood that has a garage full of all these beautiful tools, and all you really need is a screwdriver. You feel like such an ass going over to his house because you're like, man, I'd like to use these other tools, but I really just need a screwdriver. We're going to keep using the screwdrivers we have and keep winning. And Coach Cutter's not going to take out that bandsaw or that miter saw or whatever magical tools, because I'm not a tool guy, that he needs to until he has to.
Well, speaking of the screwdriver, that's actually a note that I had is in thinking about all the different weapons that we have around Jameis, I was a little surprised to see how much we stayed with a very just plain run with Jacquizz. Very vanilla to the word I think you were getting ready to just say. Just take Jacquizz, run up the middle. And then when Peyton got in there, I thought Peyton did a really good job when he came in the second half. I thought it would be a little bit more running back by committee style than what we saw. It was definitely more that kind of feature back that we're more used to. But, I don't know what the ratio of run to pass plays are. I was glad to see that we stayed with a lot of run plays. I was just surprised.
Yeah, The way the game was, I really wasn't. I mean, the way the game was going, Cutter actually is, and it's hard to even fathom this with all the weapons they do have on the outside and all the people that Jameis get the ball to. It's a run-first offense, and that's it. Works off the play action. Works best off the play action. But something that we haven't touched on that I was very happy to see was I don't think we'd had a 3-and-out until that second to last, Jameis's last,
like fourth quarter.
Yeah, fourth quarter, Jameis's last series. I think that was the first 3-and-out for the offense, which was, that's for me. That's something that I try to keep an eye on. I think that's huge.
Was that the one that ended in a sack?
Yeah. I think like each team only got the ball once in the third quarter. That was no. Had it twice. Okay.
That third quarter went by really fast.
Yeah, we had 2 very long drives. The first one got interrupted by a turnover. The fumble by Sims, right? It was a long drive, and as the grind out grizzled old person, I'm sitting there loving it because it is literally watching the soul of the Chicago Bears team start to drift out of their body like a crappy cartoon as the team methodically pounds the ball down the field, and then you fumble the ball like a jacknut. And then all of a sudden you think, they're going to get it back. Well, the defense holds, we get the ball back, and then what did the offense do? Grab the hammer, start hammering down the field. That third quarter should have been triumphant. It should have ended with 14 points for the good guys and the soul all the way up and then just bodies on the field. But it did not. And that's why Coach Cutter said in the press conference when asked, could you be more happy with the Buccaneers? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the right answer.
It will always be the right answer.
It will always be the right answer.
Even
if they win 1,000-0, somehow they put negative points up.
Yeah.
Could have been better.
The Gatorade guy was a little slow this week.
Well, it's I don't know if you guys watched Last Chance U on Netflix, but the coach they have on that, I'm not saying that I want him as my coach, but one of the things from a football perspective that I did enjoy is he's a put your foot on their throat and stomp kind of guy. If they don't win by at least 6 touchdowns, he is pissed off. And I'm kind of that way as a fan. I got to admit, I wanted to see us shut out the Bears today. I wanted to see us hit 40, 60 points because I thought we could do it. I mean, Derek, you said earlier, they could have had another 18 points. They have another 18 points out on the field. And damn it, I want those 18 points. I know we won by 22 points, I think, at the end of the game. That's not bad.
3 touchdowns.
Not a bad day. But when I sit back and I think about 26 points in the first half, 3 in the second, it kind of pisses me off a little bit, I got to tell you.
This is an interesting reaction. I see it on Twitter right now. I'm watching people asking Greg Auman, did Baker even play? Did Spence even play? And I watched my entire row disappear. Now, admittedly, I sit in clubs, so they're bougie clowns anyway who leave and go sit in the AC. Tampa fans, listen, we have played through over a decade of absolute crap football. We are on the precipice of really good football. We just beat a decent team soundly. There was no doubt. This was a sound beating that we put on the Chicago Bears. Can always be better, but please, before you look at the downside, acknowledge the fact that we have a team that's playing good football, and don't be the guys who are like, well, this would have been great if only we had dominated them, impregnated all their wives, taken their homes, and kicked their dogs on the way out. It doesn't have to be like that. Get the win, move on, go up there, get a win in Minnesota, and then, with the Giants coming home, a late game, you have a chance to play a team that people feel is a really legitimate threat, even though they haven't proven it on the field this year, in my opinion. Eli Manning is past his prime. That game will be considered an incredible thing. I'm just saying. Hey, listen, I loved Eli. I was that guy who loved Eli when everyone hated him. And then I watched him stack rings up. I don't think he's that guy anymore. But you have a chance for your Buccaneers to go play a wounded Minnesota team and a New York Giants team that isn't as good as they are supposed to be.
Offensive line is terrible.
Coming into the Patriots, who are the real deal. They went and just they beat up. I don't know. I can use that word on my podcast, but listen, the Saints are still crying right now about what Tom Brady did. He threw 16 touchdowns in the first quarter and then peed all over him, I think. So that's going to be the game. You can't look past anything in this league, but we have a chance with this team to go play that injured Minnesota team, get some more confidence, polish the product a little bit, come home, play a wounded, not as good as they're supposed to be Giants team, and then have a real test to the metal. That's the one that all of a sudden Bucs fans should be like, I should start booking some travel because this is good stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, if we do that, we go into playing the Patriots having won 3 in a row. there's a momentum that's going to carry us, that should carry us through that game as well, that you certainly don't want to deny. So question, just because you brought this up, I was going to wait till the end, but I want to go ahead and talk about it now, and we'll come back to some more of the other offense stuff. The Bucs win 29-7. Those 7 points really came in garbage time at the very end of the game. This very well could have been a shutout. Is this the statement? You talk about the Bucs have to come out and make a statement to the league about who they are this year and who they're going to be. Is this that statement, or did they just happen to play a really good game and ran up the score on them?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. First, I don't care if they make a statement to the league or to their mailman. I could care less. What they need to make a statement to was their fans. This is the team that we're going to be.
Well, to that, it just came across my phone.
Yeah,
breaking news: Gerald McCoy on the win today says the city deserved this. Bucs fans deserved this today.
Yeah, that's no surprise coming off, what we all just went through in the whole state of Florida off Irma. And the Tampa Bay area does deserve it, and Bucs fans deserve it. Derek talked about earlier about like decades and decades of bad football. The 80s were grotesque. We lost 10 games in a row, I think 6 years straight, at least. 5 wins was a good season at one point. I've said it many times in this podcast, like we are entering the golden age of Buccaneer fandom. And it's all because, let's face it, it's Jameis. It's the Jameis effect. The fans getting hype. Where does that come from? Actually getting free agents like Deshaun Jackson wanting to come here. That's because of Jameis Winston. This is it. It'd be hard stretch to think what could have gone better offensively or defensively. I mean, there's little things, you can always clean up, but this is the game that everybody wanted, and the Bucs, they went out and delivered. They showed it.
So let's talk about things that the Bucs can do. Well, Derek, I'll give you a chance. You want to respond?
At the tailgate, we talked about a statement, and I agree with Ren. I don't care about the statement to the league. The league's going to watch the tape. They don't care about statements. They care about execution. But fans do, and just as fast as negative emotion can spread, and we talk about it all the time from the movie The Replacements, the concept of quicksand is very real. But the inverse is real too. When good things start to happen and they're followed by other good things, you ride that karmic wave. And that's what happened today. Good plays led to better plays led to good fortune led to excitement, and all of a sudden you have a 2 or 3 score lead. When you have a 2 or 3 score lead, this game changes fundamentally. Defense no longer has to play it safe. They can be more aggressive. All of a sudden, the defensive coordinator's hands are untied, and then it just starts to be this ball. This was exactly what they needed to do. I did see some of the comments about where are the fans and why was the crowd so light. Listen, I have people around me who don't have power at their house still. I have people around me whose houses have been flooded. For anyone who's not here, who's on Twitter talking shit about who's not in the stadium, when they're not in the stadium, y'all can all shove it. A lot of our people don't have food, have lost their livelihoods. Mm-hmm. The fact that we had people there today, the people who were there raised hell, and I think they did a great job. I think the stadium did a great job, except for the cannons not firing. I don't know that today goes much better. Yeah, so that was one of the things I'm sure is probably going to be talked about throughout media. But if you're at home, you may or may not have actually known the cannons were not firing. Now, you could look over and you could see the smoke was coming out of the cannons at the right time, at least through about the first quarter, maybe first quarter and a half. I think they just quit. But they could never get the boom to come out of the cannon. So just for those of you who weren't there at the game and weren't aware of that was something that was going. And there's a lot of people around us, Ren, that were going, where's the cannon fire? Get the cannons. They're in the red zone. Fire the cannons.
Yeah, the first time we got in the red zone, there was quite a few people that were upset about no cannon fire. Honestly, I'm sort of fall into the hang on. We got breaking news from Ira Kaufman. More good news for Bucs fans. Quan Alexander says he's fine and we're ready for the Vikings next week. Said he could have gone back in, and that was exactly, I don't even know what time it is now. Oh, that was a couple hours ago. So it's not breaking news, but it's breaking news for tomorrow.
No, but okay, but I mean that's amazing. We can get a guy who goes down with a minor injury. Mm-hmm. And we don't have to put him back in. When we talk about the depth at that linebacker position, we don't have to put him back in. We can let him just sit back and rest and, let that hamstring heal up. And, our guys got it. We got you. You're good. And we'll see you back next week.
Yeah, we've got very good players all over the roster. This is nothing new to Bucks fans. Like this year, I wrote an article, caught a little flack for it, but I sort of put this year's roster against the Super Bowl winning roster, and sort of did a 10
It's on whatthebuck.net. You guys should all go read it.
It's in the archives. Still alive. So I did like a 10-9 like boxing grading system, and this year came out on top. Now you could disagree or agree with what I said, or how I came out about to my end, I guess. But they're in the conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the important part, is that this roster is in that there's an argument to be made that they are more talented. So I'm sort of stammering here. I don't have really much to say else about the game. I loved it. I thought it was a good crowd. My first time in club section was nice. It was nice every once in a while to go into the air conditioner, get my free refill on my Coke. The people around us were cool. It was just a really fun day, and I'm really glad I went. But before we go, I would like, because we sort of touch on the Irma situation. Derek, you had a fundraiser for going for the What the Buck tailgate party. He's much more better and eloquent at explaining what they do. More better, or
Eloquenter.
I was listening, real quick sidebar, I was listening to Derek's podcast on the way to the game today, and anybody that uses an acronym for the Oxford Dictionary, like that's, yeah, so just back off with a little language, please, okay?
Is it or is it not the OED?
Since I know who you are and we've met and we're friends, like, I knew what you meant, but who the hell walks around and talks about, oh yeah, the OED, and every that pops in.
Listen, we have a very, very bright listener base at What the Buck, and they're so sick of my words. No, but the charity stuff, I'm glad you gave me a chance to say this. So we had run a pretty strong donation campaign for Harvey, actually. We have a lot of fans and friends that we know from Houston. We had worked aggressively. We had a couple of guys that had donated their time and trucks. We were getting ready. We were loading them up. We had collected donations online, bought Walmart gift cards. We were getting ready to go, and then Irma hit Florida. And the Houston people said, listen, FEMA's here. Things are going well. We're getting our supplies. You guys are in the acute condition now. You need it now. Keep it. Don't drive it to us. We'll do us. You do you. Keep it there, which was amazing. And it speaks of how this game can transcend the field. Mm-hmm. So we took all that stuff. Those trucks are leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning. Cheryl Stewart, who's our founder of our charitable foundation and the executive director, What the Buck Really Matters, knows a lot about this. She's worked in the mobile manufactured home business for 20 plus years. And so she understands the areas. Naples and these areas got hit so hard. They've got support there now. It's still not great. It's still brutal, guys. We're not taking anything away from what they're going through, but they have people on the ground helping them. When you look at Fort Meade, Frostproof, Waimama, these areas that are inland, they're not there yet, and they won't be there for a long time. They're also a very high migrant population who are uninsured, like a 90% uninsured rate. So our trucks are going down there. We did $1,030 in $10 Walmart gift cards the other day. It took poor lady at Walmart a long time to code those. And I think we have 4 or 5 truckloads of stuff to go down there and donate to the people. And that's because of everyone who's listened to the podcast, who's participated with us. We have people bringing stuff to the tailgate today. It's a tie that binds us. And like I said, that's why I got a little feisty earlier. I apologize if I went over the top. But when I have people pop off about, well, where the hell was everyone at the game? You know what? That's why when everyone's mad about the Dolphins game being rescheduled, there are people whose lives were changed by that hurricane, and you're worried about we have to play 16 games in a row. Get your life straight. If you were that person, go check yourself real quick. Because right now, we're sitting in this beautiful restaurant, had a great dinner, power, air conditioning. I have people that work on my team in Miami right now who cannot walk in their house and won't for months. Their lives are changed. Now, I'm not asking for woe is me, but at least have some damn respect about it. So the fact that we had that crowd there, I've made fun of Bucs fans for longer than almost anyone. I know longer than anyone in podcasts, right? Because I don't give this crowd any sort of base to make any of these comments. Mm-hmm. But the people who were there, they did it today. And it's going to get better. People will understand this culture will change. It takes a while. We've been fooled before. You stack 3, 4, 5 wins up, that crowd will be fine.
So, Derek, you guys, as part of the effort, a lot of this came through the tailgate that you guys had today. It's joined, and we heard earlier in this offseason, you guys kind of teamed up, Unite the Fan Base. as it were. With the What the Buck tailgate, you got the stick carriers coming in there, the Buckaholics. We've certainly done what we can to promote that. In just 1 minute, talk to us about the tailgate. You got a lot of your stuff for Irma through the tailgate today, from what I understand. Tell us how the tailgate and stuff went, and where folks can find that in future home games.
Tailgate went very well. The Unite the Fan Base thing I think was really important. There's been a resurgence of excitement. The Buckaholics came on the scene last year. I was fortunate enough to be with them out in Arizona when they really cut their teeth. And then they blew up in San Diego, and they've spread nationwide, which is great. You got Buccaneers Invasion out of Atlanta. We got lots of pockets. And then the stick carrier movement really started. Bucks Uncensored and Justin Pulowski via JoeBucksFan.com really jumped onto the scene. And what's interesting is for years we've been doing the tailgate and doing all this other stuff, but we never carried it over to the game. And Justin comes from a great collegial background. He's a very spirited fan. He's one of the guys I respected for a long time because, like me, he always paid for his seats. I have no problem with press sitting in the press box, but I think it's different when you're a journalist or trying to cover the team and you're a fan. It's a tough line to walk sometimes, right? I get it. So I love that he did that. Well, when all of this was coming together, the idea was, well, why recreate the wheel?
Right.
We've got a pretty damn good thing going. We got a Hall of Fame tailgate, the only one in Tampa. Bring your family over. Like, everyone's welcome. It's a public tailgate. So they came over. I think everyone had a great time today. We haven't even counted the treasure chest, as we call it. We haven't even done that. We took all the supplies to add to the Irma Relief Fund. And then all the net proceeds from today, it wasn't all just Irma. Today was One Voice, which is Pediatric Cancer Research, and Paul's Project. So that will be the net for this game. If you ever wonder about our tailgates, guys, whatthebuck.net/tailgate, or click the tailgate button. We have turn-by-turn directions. I think we have the temperature of the water in the wells nearby. I mean, there's more
a lot
data.
of information in that graph.
We do a game day flyer that tells you everything, who the beneficiaries are. We don't get the money for parking. We pay to park like everyone else. Your donations are what go to us. We have sponsors that defray the cost. Anything you donate above the cost to run is what goes to the charities, and that's how we operate. We've done it for a long time. I think we do a pretty damn good job of it, and I think that today we had a great time. The walk, which was the new ad from the stick carriers, was debuted today. It was fun. Well, we're going to continue to improve on that. I think we walked a little too fast. We lost some people. I think we were excited. Like JoJo Tommy Boy. There's a reference. JoJo the dancing something or another. Anyway, it might be in the OED. I'll look it up. But okay. It's definitely not in Webster's because it's not even a real dictionary. So the walk, however, was a lot of fun. Got down to the south end zone, did some cheering. Security worked with us well today, which was great. And I really do think the culture is going to change. And I think that you saw it spread. I think as soon as that can become expected, we're going to have a different game day experience. We've already had a different pregame experience. That's just going to continue to get better and evolve and enhance. Now it doesn't have to end at 12 o'clock or so when we walk up to the stadium and we go there and we sit on our hands or whatever we do. It's going to be a more united effort. And realize, listen, just because you're a stick carrier or you're a Buckaholic or you're a What the Buck guy or you're a Buccaneers Invasion or you're a free floater, who knows, you've got a family here.
Yeah.
If you want to come have a good time, hell, bring your family that roots for the other team. We had Bears fans all over the place today. They had a great time. Everything was exactly what we had wanted, what Justin had talked about, what Art and Jay and all the guys from the Buckaholics had said. It was fans having a great time with each other, giving each other a little bit of fun crap back and forth, and then coming back and looking forward to the next week. So thanks for giving me a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, no, and Derek, definitely, because we round this out, thank you so much for your time, just to be able to come and sit and invite us out to dinner with your crew, and then we get to sit back and just kind of talk about the game. So we'll go ahead and close this out, unless you guys have anything else from the game you want to talk about. Ren?
Go Bucks. No, I'm good. I don't even want to just rehash everything I already said. Great day, good performance, great performance defensively, good performance offensively. We're cresting, and here we go.
Fantastic. Well, guys, this is going to wrap up the show. You guys make sure you check out Derek and everything he's got going on over at whatthebuck.net. You can also check out his podcast that generally goes live on Thursday nights at 9, I believe, at mixler.com/whatthebuck. You guys can join him live there, join in the chat room. Ren and I usually try to jump in whenever we can.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys do that. You guys stay tuned. We're going to be back later this week with our next main episode. We're in the rhythm of our regular season now, which is we have an InstantCast, and then we've got our main episode coming out later in the week where we'll have more analysis. We'll get a chance to watch some of the film again. We'll have a new top 3. We'll have a new guest coming in. You guys make sure you keep sending in. I know today we weren't able to take your phone calls, but that's okay. Send in the voicemails. Call us 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. Call and leave a voicemail there. Shoot us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We'll make sure that we get those in to our main episode. So Derek, one more time, I want to say thanks for joining out here. Ren, it's always great to be able to hang out with you, my friend.
Yeah, man. Face to face.
Yeah, there we go. And next week's going to be on the internet, on the webs. But it's all good. It's amazing what we do with technology. So until the next time, my friends, we'll talk to you guys in just a few days. But until then, go Bucks.